This is Dave, and I'm here with Ethan, and together we are Dave and Ethan's 2000-inch Weird Al podcast, episode 98-inch.
On this week's episode, we interview Trevor Strong of the legendary comedy music trio, The Arrogant Worms.
It's Dave and Ethan's 2000-inch Weird Al podcast.
It's a podcast about Weird Al.
It's Dave and Ethan's 2000-inch Weird Al podcast.
Seriously, the whole podcast is about Weird Al.
Dave and Ethan's 2000-inch Weird Al podcast.
You don't have to listen, but we're glad you are.
Dave and Ethan's 2000-inch Weird Al podcast.
Oh, hey Dave. Wow, I feel like it's been like a week since we last talked.
Well, not quite. Don't you remember what happened on Sunday?
Yes, you're right. The greatest Weird Al podcast in the world released a special bonus episode.
Right, and you know what that special bonus episode, Headline News Special Report number 4, was all about?
Well, it's on my list. I mean, I still have to listen to Headline News Special Report number 3.
What? Like that came out in October 2020.
I said it's on my list.
Well, you're on that episode, but just in case, the big news this week, it finally happened. At the 63rd Grammy Awards this past Sunday, Jim Kimo West won his first ever Grammy Award.
Oh, that's right. That is the most pretty stinking majestic news ever.
His album, More Guitar Stories, won the Grammy Award for Best New Age Album, beating out albums by Laurie Anderson, Tenzin Chigaya and Jesse Paris-Smith, Corey Wong and Jean-Baptiste, Priya Darshini, and Superposition.
Now, unfortunately, Jim's audio was not working when he went to give his acceptance speech, but Jim recorded his speech anyway and posted it online. So let's take a listen.
Wow, this is an amazing honor. Thank you to the Academy. And first of all, I'd like to say mahalo nui loa to the other nominees for creating such beautiful art. I want to say thank you to the amazing musicians who played on this record. Jimmy Johnson, M.P. Gordy, Charlie Bicheret, Dan Lutz, Ben Powell, T.J. Troy, Simone Vitucci, and Cenk Erdogan. Also mahalo to my graphic designer, Maka Alaporth. I'd like to shout out to the amazing indie music community and my Slack Key Ohana. Thank you all for spreading peace and beauty and aloha throughout the world. The world thanks you for that. Aloha.
From all of us here at Dave and Ethan's 2000-inch Weird Al podcast, Jim, congratulations.
Ha'omakai!
On the first of what we predict will be many, many, many future Grammy Award wins.
Now, aside from that incredible news about Jim, Dave, did you have a good week? I mean, you look extra weird and smiley today.
I sure did. And thanks for noticing. I am thrilled.
Oh, that's so great. Well, I mean, are you still happy and buzzing that you got to see one of your all-time favorite bands, The Arrogant Worms, perform a free virtual concert on Saturday?
Yeah, that was so much fun, and I'm so thrilled that they actually played a few of my request songs as well, but there's more.
Well, obviously, you must just be so excited to talk to this week's guest, Trevor Strong from The Arrogant Worms.
Oh, I definitely am. I cannot wait to get to that, and I cannot wait to get to our big announcement that will follow the interview.
Okay, so that's not it. Oh, I've got it. I know. You must have just had so much fun at the virtual MarsCon this weekend.
Yeah, I did. I caught a few acts here and there. Luke Ski throwing toasters and a few others. I mean, shout out to Luke Ski for putting on such a fun event. But, that's still not everything that I'm so happy about.
Oh, of course. Sunday was Pi Day. I know you like Pi Day.
Oh, you know it. With pi being my secret most favorite number ever, and me being such a math nerd, I definitely enjoyed that day.
But that's not it. Well, I have to assume your Ides of March went well. You didn't get stabbed by an angry mob or anything. Did you?
Oh, no, I managed to totally avoid them this year.
I know. I bet your Stone Cold Steve Austin Day went well. That's why you're so happy.
Well, yeah. And how do you know about Stone Cold Steve Austin? I thought you didn't follow professional wrestling.
He's a professional wrestler? Okay. Let me guess. Your Rusev Day went really, really, really well.
Well, it always does. But now this is just getting a little weird with all the professional wrestling references. But you know what, Ethan? There is more.
Okay, fine. I give up, Dave. besides all that great stuff that happened, why was your week so good, and why are you all weird and smiley?
I thought you would never ask. I am happy because it's only March and we have already fulfilled our contractual obligation to have at least one guest named Dave or David on the podcast each calendar year. You know, last week on episode 97 of course, we spoke with Dave Foots Footman. He's an amazing guy and he worked on the film UHF and he even helped build the Wheel of Fish.
Not this again. I don't even know why I ever agreed to that contract.
Well, Foots joins the ranks of other great guests we've had on the podcast, also named Dave or David. Author David Grant, a.k.a. Sebastian Shepard, comedian Dave Hill, and also from UHF, the great David Bowe.
And don't forget, Dave Rossi.
When was he on?
I'll have to have Frank pull it up. I'm not sure.
And it's only March. Last year we cut it close, but this year we still have plenty of time left to have a few more Daves on the podcast if we want.
Well, let's just get...
And when you look at that, 97 episodes are in the bag and still not one single guest named Ethan. I mean, I guess there's still technically time for one to show up this episode.
Okay, yeah. Speaking of our interview with Foots, our Academy Award and Emmy Award nominated listener, Eddie Schmidt, who gave us the idea to interview Foots, he wrote on his Twitter, "Glad an anecdote I recalled from a crew conversation many years ago, I built the Wheel of Fish, could lead to further studies in cinema history. We are too. Thanks again, Eddie."
Yeah, thank you, Eddie. You know how Foots talked about organizing a crew versus cast softball game? I was thinking, we should do that with our podcast.
Okay, well, how would the teams be split?
Well, it's pretty obvious. You and me on one team and our intern Frank on the other.
Great idea! Frank is going down!
Hey, didn't you tell me you entered some contest for Burrito?
Yeah, they had this caption contest to win a, get this, candle. Now, it was a space-themed image of an alien holding a burrito kind of thing. So this is what I wrote. I wrote, "From Troy to Uranus, burrito is out of this world. Feliz Navicuac."
Well, did you win?
No, I was robbed.
Well, to be fair, you did say Uranus.
Well, this week's episode is brought to you in part by vegan Mexican restaurant Burrito in Troy, New York, home of the 2-pound double wrapped in a quesadilla burrito. Come on down to Burrito and Burrito, your burrito. Find them at burritosquared.com and at burritosquared on Instagram. And remember, not every burrito is a burrito, but every burrito can be burritoed. From Troy to Uranus, burrito is out of this world.
Well, better luck next time, Ethan. Let's move on to this week in Weird Al related news. March 12th was the 25th anniversary of the release of Weird Al's 9th studio album, Bad Hair Day.
To celebrate the momentous date, John Gurley and Zach Carruthers of Portugal the Man got together with President of the United States of America's Chris Ballou, Soul Asylum's Dave Pirner, and Mike Mills from REM to trade stories about the album and discuss the legacy of Bad Hair Day and Weird Al.
It was pretty obvious that at one point, Chris Ballou referenced being on our podcast. How awesome is that? Next time, please make sure to say our whole name, Chris.
Now, the video is about 52 minutes, and it was put together by the website Consequence of Sound. And I don't know, Dave, it was pretty suspicious that they got a few of these guys together to talk about Weird Al. I mean, how many people have specifically talked to Portugal the Man and Chris Ballou all about Weird Al for extended periods of time?
What a coincidence of sound.
Now, I was super thrilled that Bad Hair Day is celebrating such a momentous anniversary. I mean, it is a couple years off from a true Weird Al anniversary, but I love Bad Hair Day. It was the first album I ever heard. It's one of my favorite, if not my favorite albums, so it definitely has a special place in my heart.
I have so many great memories of Bad Hair Day. And to think that Bad Hair Day was actually the very first studio album that I actually bought in stores on the day it was released. So I know what I was doing 25 years ago last Friday.
And when you bought it, was it a CD or a cassette? Do you remember?
I bought the CD, but it was also available on cassette. I probably went back and got the cassette at a later date.
That's so great. Now, Dave, you and I celebrated Bad Hair Day by interviewing someone who performed on Bad Hair Day for a future episode.
Now, this is someone who has never been interviewed before, so we are very excited for you to hear that interview. Eventually.
Now, the other huge news to happen last week was on March 12th, our former guest, episode 57-inch guest, Mike Furman, released a brand new EP of kids' music called Activity Books, and none other than Weird Al appears on one of the tracks.
How very cool. That track is Word Search / Vacuum. I would love to know how Weird Al got involved in that.
Well, why don't we just ask Mike? I think he's still on hold from last June.
All right, yeah, good idea, as long as we have him. Hey, Mike, you there?
Guys?
Oh, hey!
Oh my gosh. You know what? Oh, man, thank you. Thank you. I almost hung up. I was literally about two more minutes. And I've said that for about a couple months. But this time I really meant it. 2 more minutes and I'm out.
Well, thanks for hanging on this whole time since last June. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, I mean, you said hang on, so I don't want to. I'm a rule follower.
Right. Oh, your brand new EP, Activity Books, I've already gushed on the podcast how much I love your music, but let me just, again, gush. It is fantastic. It's 17 minutes and 4 seconds of just absolute audio bliss. I'm not even a kid, and I love this music, so.
Nice. I was saying to somebody, or I put up a post earlier, and as I was writing it, I was like, it's always a weird line I have to walk where it's like, I want people to enjoy this that aren't looking for kids' music. You know what I mean? Like just people that just like weird, music.
Right.
But, it is unquestionably kid-friendly, so it's not like I'm going to be like, oh, here, grown person, listen to a song that counts from 1 to 32,
right.
But so I just said, here, you know what? Have fun with this. And what? You're not a kid? Well, guess what? Imagine you heard this when you were a kid, and now you can see if it still holds up.
There's only 5 tracks, but it almost feels like more because there's sort of like a part 1 and a part 2 to each song.
Yeah. There's kind of like 9 little things happening.
Right.
Well, I guess tell us about Word Search / Vacuum. Tell us about working with Weird Al yet again.
So this time was really, at the top, I got to say that it was in social distancing, so I didn't get to actually be in the room with him, but he recorded at home and had me on speakerphone. And I mean, it was exactly the same as he's the most reliable, like just the coolest guy in the world. And I don't have a lot of people on tracks, and but I thought, oh my God, this is a part that, I had him asked him to do the voice of the street meat because I thought that's kind of a weird thing. And then for this song. It was a matter of like, I need somebody, I was going to do it of like, the idea of the song is that we go through a word search, right? And there's like all the phonemes, all the little bits of speech that as if you're reading just like a complete mess of letters. And then every now and then, some of them amount to words. So, okay, great. We go through that. We do all that stuff, which already was kind of like how am I doing this? Oh God, this could be unlistenable. This could be absolute garbage. And I don't know. We'll find out. So I was doing that, and then got to the point of like, okay, like you said, the songs are in sections. So usually we've done a connect the dots, and then what did we draw? Oh, we drew a small dog in a carry-on luggage bag, and then we have a little song about a carry-on dog, Right. And then there's a color by number, and what did we color? Oh, it's a boxer in a boxing ring boxing another boxer. Then for this one, it was all the words are things. Honestly, I've really wanted to sing a song about a vacuum for a long time for some reason. And I really like vacuuming. And so I just had a bunch of words that would be things that get sucked up by a vacuum. And so one, you get the bonus of having like a little kid. I had a friend of my kids, a family friend who's this little girl who has the cutest voice in the world. And she is emphatically and full of joy yelling, debris! And like, just the most, like all this stuff that it's fingernails. And I'm like, oh, great. And then on top of that, I'm like, okay, if Al would do this, that would be the greatest thing. Not that he wouldn't be the greatest voice for just about everything, but especially the voice of, who else is going to scream Lint?
Right.
Perfectly. So I asked him and again, he's just the nicest guy and was like, sure. And I was like, oh, okay, well, sure. And he's like, just tell me what you want. And this time I asked him like, could I put featuring Weird Al on this one? Because I know the first time he's like, oh yeah, because he was with I was with my record company, and yeah, you can do whatever you want. Great, that's awesome. So I got to actually put his name on it, which is huge for me.
How exciting! I wondered that when I saw that. I was like, I bet that was because he's not on his record contract anymore.
Yeah, and he just recorded in his, we set a time, called, and then I was on mute on speakerphone, and he was in his in his house recording into some recording system, and he just went down. I sent him a list of things to say, and he just take after take would just do like fingernails, fingernails, fingernails,
Wow.
fingernails, fingernails. So, and it took like, it really could have been done he could have done it in like a minute, or 2 minutes, right. But he is the hardest working guy, and it was like 20 minutes,
wow,
something like that, or half hour for like 13 words, just because he would do so many takes and just goof around with it. And my kids were in here with me, and we were like crying, laughing off of just him saying 13 words.
Right.
It was the greatest, like the uncut audio of that is just gold. It's so great.
I can imagine.
Well, hopefully you can share that with us at some point. I would love to hear that.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Are there any words that didn't make the final cut that you had Al say?
Oh, that's a good question. You know what? I'm opening my Evernote. I guess I will search on the word lint, because that's not in that many things. Okay, yeah. So it was sawdust, dirt, sand. We didn't use beads. We didn't use. Let's see. Seeds didn't use. Sugar didn't use. We did use shavings. And let's see. We did rice. We did lint. Yeah. So that was pretty.
Wow.
Yeah.
It sounds like you have enough to almost do a follow-up song.
Yeah.
I recorded a lot for the other songs. I ended up getting a lot of because I wasn't sure what the next thing would be. So I was thinking, I'll just have my son and my niece. While you're here, why don't we just record a whole bunch of like, hey, it's a whatevers, And so right. I have all these like, I'm going to next week, I think. I've been animating these little basic little connect the dots things that amount to just some random thing like, hey, it's a bowl of toothpicks, and that's it. It'll be like a 30-second long thing. It'll just count up and be like, hey, it's tweezers. So yeah, I've got a whole bunch of those like, hey, it's a double broiler. Hey, it's a nose hair trimmer. Hey, it's a selection of meats. Hey. So, yeah, those have been fun. It's a tongue squeegee.
Wow.
Yeah, we got lots of those.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Hey, Mike, where can we pick up this new EP, Activity Books?
That is available everywhere. You can go to my website, Mike Furman, spelled like it doesn't sound, unfortunately. It's such a bummer. I had my chance. I could have just called myself something cool, like, But nope. But yeah, so you can either, I think chickenmonkeyduck.com still takes you there. But if you just go to mikefurman.com, it's on there, and it's on Spotify, and it's on Apple, and it's on Amazon, it's on whatever company, it's on Doritos, it's on whatever company name. Every company now has a music thing. So yeah, it's on Nike, it's on Virgin Atlantic, it's on, I don't know. It's on Buick. It's on, yeah.
Well, Mike, are we going to get a physical release of this album?
I don't have any plan to right now, only because even the one, even the songs to sing at children, I pressed a bunch of CDs, and then the intention is to sell them at shows, and then the coronavirus happened. And so I've got all these CDs sitting here, and I don't know what the story is for upcoming live shows. So right now it's just going to be digital, and that's also like the most convenient for, I think, people, these days anyway.
Right.
Yeah. So cool. Yeah, no physical really, other than, you have to hit play still. No, you don't. I can literally say, Alexa, play Connect the Dots, Luggage Dog. That's it. That's all I have to do. There. It's playing. And she pronounces my name right now. Alexa, stop. I've heard it.
Dave and I, we absolutely love Mike Furman's activity books, available now. Spotify, iTunes, Amazon, mikefurman.com, chickenmonkeyduck.com. Check it out. You are not going to be disappointed. And you get to hear Weird Al scream shavings and lint. Mike, thank you so much for popping in and joining us today.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Mike, if you wouldn't mind, just hang on hold for a little bit and we'll get back to you shortly.
Yeah, sure. No problem.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Sure.
All right. Well, now that Mike's back on hold, I think it's time that we get to this week's scheduled interview.
The Arrogant Worms are at the top of my all-time favorite comedy bands. I own all their albums. I've seen them perform more times than any band outside of Weird Al himself. I've traveled to faraway places such as New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Connecticut, and even Toronto to see them perform live. They're one of my favorite bands to perform live, and this year they will be celebrating 30 years together as a band. So it is our great pleasure to welcome Trevor Strong of the Arrogant Worms to the podcast. Hey, Trevor, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you?
We're doing great.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Okay, good.
It's so exciting. I mean, in the, echelon of all-time legendary comedy musicians, Weird Al is obviously up there, but Arrogant Worms is up there too. It's so great to have you on the podcast. We know there's a lot of crossover. A lot of our listeners are, of course, diehard Arrogant Worms fans too.
Oh, good.
I would love if you could just, Trevor, please tell us a little bit about yourself, to introduce yourself to our audience.
Oh, about myself. Okay, so I guess I've been in the Arrogant Worms for 30 years? Oh my God, 30 years. We've been doing that for 30 years. I'm one of the original members. Two of us are original members, and Chris in the group, he's new. He's only been in the band for 27 years. And he's still breaking him in. We'll make him a full member. I don't know, maybe another 10, 15 years. So I've been doing that. Besides that, what do I do? I've written several books. I have a book called Very Grim Fairy Tales, which are, well, the title is, I like titles that tell you what you're getting. They're very grim fairy tales. I have a self-help book called Get Stupid, and I have a novel called Edgar Gets Going to Rise and Fall of a fairly decent bass player. So I do some writing too. What else do I do? And I do teaching. I teach comedy courses. I'm teaching 2 of them right now.
Wow.
And yeah, and I've been doing more solo stuff since the Arrogant Worms haven't been allowed to tour anywhere on the internet, which I discovered during this pandemic. Yeah.
Welcome.
Right.
Yeah. Oh, and also, yeah, Trevor Talks It Through. That's my latest show. Yeah, there we go. Phew. Okay, got it in there.
So, Trevor, tell us how the Arrogant Worms started, and also, how have you guys been able to stay together for 30 years? Because that is no small feat.
Yeah, well, we started in university, so I'm living in Kingston, and that's where we all met. I moved back a while ago, but we all met at University in Kingston, Ontario, at Queen's University, and we were all there was a campus group that would do kind of comedy cabarets at the engineering pub called the Queen's Players. And so the original bunch all met there. And then a bunch of us started doing like sketch comedy, recording that for the campus radio station. And I had a friend who had a show Sunday midnight to 2 a.m. And so that was kind of the basic clump. And then it was originally a bunch of people, and then it got down to really 4 of us who showed up regularly. And then Mike had a song that we thought would be good to put on the national radio broadcaster, CBC, Canadian Broadcast Corporation, and we sent it in. And then they said they'd play it, and they asked us what the name of the group was, and we didn't have a name. We weren't a group yet.
Right.
So, so then we came up with the name, and then from there we started to do a little more. We started to do more stuff and sent the tapes off to different campuses. And then one place said, "Well, when are you guys touring?" When touring, that sounds interesting. So then we started trying to get some gigs. And then what did we do after? Yeah, then we started touring more and more. We did like a lot of pubs and campus bars. And sketch comedy doesn't work very well when people are drunk.
Right.
Whereas songs, even if they're not listening, you're still playing a song, and they might not even notice that what you're doing is comedy, but you do survive the night. So gradually we got rid of the songs, and then we ended up just being musical comedy. That's kind of the thing.
Yeah.
Cool.
So do you want me to go to part 2 now? How did we survive so long together?
Yes.
So we've always known. One thing is we've always known what the group was. So like all of us know what a song is. That is an Arrogant Worms song, right? So we never push something that isn't that. We just do that somewhere else.
Okay.
And then so that helps. And the other thing is, we've never pretended that all of us had to be best friends or anything like that. So I mean, we're friendly and all that, but whenever we see a group where the band would all hug together before every show, like we do folk festivals, I always knew that band would be broken up within the year. So, because you got to respect it. Like if you're too, like, you know what I mean. So we've always been good at respecting each other. And we all do stuff outside the group too, which I think is always good as well.
So, Trevor, what are some of your early comedy musical influences?
Of course, Weird Al, who I would hear on the Dr. Demento Show, and then later saw on videos all over the place. He was definitely in there. But I would say my major ones were the albums that my parents had hanging around the house. So they had, I think, pretty much all of Tom Lehrer. A lot of Monty Python, which I also watched on television, but we had the albums. We had at least 1 or 2 of the albums as well. And Beyond the Fringe, that was an English group with Dudley Moore, a bunch of other English comedians. So I think those were a lot of like the big influences. The Muppet Show was another major, I would say, influence on me as well.
Yeah.
So I would think that kind of follow. Oh, and Second City, SCTV, was another big influence on me. They didn't do a lot of musical stuff, but they were still their style of comedy, I think, is pretty similar to kind of the tone of the comedy we do.
Now, were you already performing and doing music before you started with the Arrogant Worms, or was it sort of something you adapted once you guys met up?
The only thing I had done, I'd been in one musical, The Pirates of Penzance, where I played a policeman and had no lines. And then I did Queen's Players and the Queen's. So no, I besides the Queen's Players and the Arrogant Worms, I'd done nothing. I'd done nothing before the Arrogant Worms started.
Wow.
Yeah, Mike had been in some bands around campus, and then Chris, I think, did a lot of like theater stuff in high school. But I did almost pretty much nothing beforehand.
Wow.
Yeah, I didn't start singing till I was 19.
And playing guitar and other instruments?
No, I started writing comedy songs before I played guitar. I learned guitar so I could play the song.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, I had absolutely no idea what I was doing. I still don't really, but yeah, as you could tell by the development of the group, it was not well thought out or plotted very well. We just kind of started doing stuff, and then whatever worked, we'd try to do more of that stuff. That was as close as we got to a plan.
So I don't know that I realized that Dr. Demento could be heard in Canada. Was it difficult to listen to that?
I'm trying. Yeah, I'm trying to remember. His show would be put on just certain radio stations. I think would like buy the half hour or an hour of it or something like that.
Okay.
So it was spotty. Like I don't remember what station I heard it on, but obviously there was some station that played it sometime.
Mm-hmm.
But it was that kind of thing. I think they would just, it was like, it was hard to find, but obviously I think I have vague recollections unless I totally deluded myself, but I'm pretty sure that there was a local station that would put it on, one time a week at some really bad hour. Like, you had to wait for it.
Yeah.
Right. That was Dr. Demento Show your first exposure to Weird Al's music?
From what I can recall, my memory is fuzzy, but I'm pretty sure I heard some of the songs before he did the videos. But once again, like going back that far, that's a stretch for me. But I think so. I'm pretty sure. But I wouldn't have known. Like I wouldn't have been listening to the names, right? So I would have just been listening to the funny songs at that time.
Yeah.
Right. It wouldn't have been. Yeah.
And what about the first time Arrogant Worms was on the Dr. Demento Show?
Yeah, so I can't even remember what song he played first. The one that he played that got a lot of traction was Carrot Juice's Murder.
Right.
I don't think that was the first, but that was like the song of the year, like back in 95 or 6. That was when we peaked, way back then. Yeah, that was, and then it's all been just a slow downhill ride since then. But I actually can't remember what the first song was that he played. That's a good question.
Wow.
But it was good. It was good. It got us, before that, we never really got any play outside of Canada. So that was really good to kind of start to get us some fans outside of the country. Cause the internet wasn't much of a thing back then.
Right.
So would have been pretty much impossible for someone to have heard us who wasn't within shot of Canadian Broadcasting Corporation radio station on the border.
Right.
So that, and it was good because it made us, realize, maybe other people like this out of here. So that was good too.
So I looked it up on the Demented Music Database, dmdb.org, which I consider the definitive Dr. Demento historical website run by our good friend Jeff Morris. And it looks like, if Jeff's archives are accurate, that the first time the Arrogant Worms were played was on February 19th, 1995. And there were 2 songs played. One you mentioned, Carrot Juice's Murder. But before that was Big Fat Road Manager, also the same show.
Big Fat Road. I never would have guessed. It makes sense hearing it, but yeah, I wouldn't have guessed that was the first one. Okay. So those were both off of our second album. So
Yeah.
I don't know if we didn't send it. Maybe we didn't even get around to sending the first album to him. Because it sounds like it must have occurred to us at the second. I was like, maybe we can send it somewhere else. Yeah. Good for us. Yep.
Yeah.
Always learning.
So was it after being on the Dr. Demento Show that you guys toured outside of Canada for the first time?
Well, our first real time was, I think, a little before that. We did the Orlando Fringe Festival.
Oh, okay.
So just when we were getting going, we were trying to find places to play, and we heard about the Fringe Festival circuit. That's it's a theater type of festival, but anyone can apply. You don't have to be good. You just have to send your money in. And we were like too late for a bunch of the festivals, but Orlando was new, and so they were taking anyone at the last minute or something. So we played there, and I think that was in 93 or 94, so probably just before that.
Wow.
I think that was our first. I think that was our first time playing in the States with the Orlando Fringe. I'm pretty sure that's right.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. Of course, Florida just is a magical land for Canadians. We have to. It's like moths to the flame.
I might be jumping ahead here a little bit, but I've seen you guys perform, I mentioned several times, all around where I live in New Jersey, in this area, as well as in Canada. And I noticed that there's a trend when you guys perform that generally Mike McCormick, he's wearing green, and Chris Patterson is wearing blue, and you
Yep.
are almost always wearing red. So is there any significance behind those colors?
No, that was just as close as we ever got to some idea of costuming. Now it's just our shoes. Our shoes are the only things that I wear red shoes, and that's all that's left of that brilliant idea. Yeah, so we've never had management or people like that, so we just always kind of stumble along on our own. So that was our attempt to bring some a little professionalism to the act.
Oh, that's amazing.
I didn't know what I was expecting there for the answer, but that was great.
Yeah, no significance whatsoever. I like red. It's my favorite color. Yeah, I always choose it first. If I'm playing a board game, I always choose red. I get really upset if somebody else takes it first.
Oh, What if there isn't red? What is your second board game color?
Then it doesn't matter.
Oh,
it's
really?
irrelevant. I don't care.
Okay.
If it's not red, then I just don't give it. The night's already ruined for me anyhow.
Right.
So I'll just grab what I don't care after that. Yeah, there's no second. We're done with my early life. Okay, good.
Yeah.
Well, fast forward.
Good. There's a couple of scandals in there, but I'm glad you guys just.
There is a scandal I do.
Wait, no, we don't have any scandals. That's why we don't get any publicity.
There is a scandal I do want to ask you about, and maybe I'll ask about it now since you brought it up.
Sure. Yeah.
So,
What can you tell us about the events of February 26th, 2000? Now, for our listeners who might not be aware what that is, the Arrogant Worms, they were playing in Kansas City, and there was a local church that put out these leaflets when you guys were there. And I'm going to read, what they called you. They called you, quote, satanic examples of the perverted culture from, quote, the cancerous blob of putrid matter atop the U.S. So...
Metastasizing, I think, is in there. Metastasizing atop the U.S. was in one of the quotations. Yeah.
So what was that all about?
Well, that was that. I can't remember the name of that church. They're the bunch that they protest everything. What are they? Anyway, they're well known of showing up at.
Oh, is it the Westboro
protesting.
Baptist?
Yes, that's the run. Yeah, that's the bunch. So we had no idea who they were, and we were actually kind of excited because we'd never had protests before, and we were all dressed up, but we could tell that the people at the theater were just kind of we're like, oh, there's a protest. And they're like, yeah, we know. Like, aren't you oh no, they're here every week, and it was just like, oh, really? So aren't they upset at us? No, they didn't even listen to the music. Like, they're only protesting because you're Canadian. Like, what? Is that a thing? So it was a little it was exciting for us to get it, but they didn't even listen to our music. They weren't even protesting anything actually that we'd done. They didn't bother. It's just that they were against Canada that week. I don't even know why. Something I don't know. But yeah, I guess they showed up to protest all sorts of random stuff. Just angry people. Yeah. So it was too bad. We were hoping that they would have been offended personally by us, but that wasn't the case.
They just assumed you were Satanists. They didn't actually do their homework.
They didn't do their homework. They didn't bother doing their homework. No research. Nope. So you know what I mean? It's just like oh, okay. Well, they didn't even take the time. Didn't even take the time to hate us personally. That's all. Yeah.
And I guess to clarify for our listeners who might not have ever heard an Arrogant Worms song, you guys play extremely clean, your music. I mean, there's definitely subjects, that you touch upon that are, a little bit out there, but they're along the lines of the same kind of stuff that Weird Al, might sing about as well. So for the most part, you guys are very clean cut. Your performances are very family friendly.
Yeah. We're pretch in the same camp as Weird Al, I'd say, especially his original song. Sometimes the ideas are twisted, but the language is always clean.
Yeah.
Right. Yes, absolutely.
Now, one thing that I found really awesome is that you guys have performed with an orchestra on a number of times, and I know fans of Weird Al will know, in 2019, he did an entire tour of touring with an orchestra. Where did that idea originally come from?
Well, I think every band that has ever existed has had the idea of, hey, we should play with an orchestra. The hard part of the idea is getting the orchestra. That's actually ended up being the tricky part.
Okay.
So we thought, hey, we should play with an orchestra. It's like, yeah, okay. But our agent at the time finally found an orchestra that was willing to do it. So we had it. So once an orchestra committed, then we had to go off and find someone to write all the music for them to play. Else it would have just looked ridiculous with us playing in front of them and them doing nothing. Because I guess they just don't jam. Like, you just can't say this is G. Play along, watch Mike for the changes. That doesn't work with an orchestra. We didn't know that. So we found a guy who was not only reasonably priced and good, but extremely quick, which was good because we'd left it to the last minute, of course. So he managed to get all the charts done, and then we got to play with the symphony.
Wow.
So it was with the Edmonton Symphony. I don't know if they still have this reputation, but at the time they were like one of the more open to, all the symphonies say, oh no, we need to expand our audience. But I never really seemed to follow up that much with it. But the Edmonton Symphony did. They would do a lot of shows with different acts, and even us. So so they agreed, and once they agreed, that meant that we, could go ahead and spend all the money we were going to get to actually write up all the charts.
Wow.
I know you guys did like a TV special with that, but did you do more than just that? Did you guys tour with them or do multiple shows?
No, we ended up doing over the years maybe 5 symphony shows.
Okay.
Maybe 5 or 6. We haven't done one in years. Like getting into symphonies is a whole other deal. Like they all have their own politics and their own things going on, and to get and like like I said, every band wants to play with the symphony, so. To get into one is kind of tricky. So we had a good half decent run getting into some, and then I think our freshness value was gone. So I still have the charts in my basement. So if you guys know any symphonies out there, I can just ship the charts to them.
Yeah,
we can start this up again. Yeah.
And tell me about, on the TV special, Nathan Fillion and Tom Cavanaugh are included.
Yes. Yeah. So we had there's a producer guy who, got all the stuff together for the filming, and he said, well, we should get as many celebrities as we can. And we said, well, okay. Who would that be? He said, well, you guys must have some connections to somebody. So Nathan, who my Trevor talked it through last week, was on. He is from Edmonton, and he used to do improv at Rapid Fire Theater, which was a place where we played quite frequently in our early years in Edmonton. And I met Nathan before, when he was just an improv guy in Orlando, which I was talking about before, at the Orlando Fringe Festival, because that's where Canadians meet each other. So we were, we kind of knew him. We never knew him super well, but we knew a lot of people. A lot of our friends were friends of his. And we were filming it just after Christmas, and he happened to be visiting his parents at Christmas. And so we managed to track him down and say, hey, could you just film some stuff for us? And I think him being a good Canadian boy probably wanted to say no, but he was just too polite to turn it down. So that was after his pizza show, whatever, 5 monkeys, 2 girls, and a pizza. No, something like that. He was after that show. It was before Firefly, I think.
Okay.
So he was. I think he was had a slightly more open calendar than you would nowadays.
Right.
And then Mr. Cavanaugh knew Mike from university.
Oh wow. Okay.
Queens. So
okay.
They were all buddies. Yep.
Oh.
Yeah, we actually saw him at our last show before the COVID came in Vancouver last year.
Oh, wow.
So we see him We see him every couple of years. He still pops up.
Nice.
Yeah. So we just dragged in whoever we had these tenuous connections to. We had Kurt Browning, who was a figure skater as well, because he used one of our songs for one of the skating routines once. So we called him up, and I don't know why he agreed, but he agreed. Once again, I think it's just the good thing about Canadians, right? Like, they don't want to be rude. So, oh God, I guess I'll do it. Yep. How much you paying me? Nothing. Oh.
Which song was it?
He did "Christmas Is Almost Here." Kurt Browning. He did one of his Christmas
Wow.
Christmas special. Yep. Yeah. Which we knew nothing about till we saw it, because somebody showed it to us. Like, what? This is wow. Yeah. I did not see that coming. So those are the celebrities we got, and of course we got my mom as well. She was a little easier to secure. Yeah,
I'm sure she had a big rider, and it was difficult.
Oh no! Actually, she was a disaster, total diva backstage. Yeah.
Oh, that's so great.
Is that also the show where the astronaut was the special guest as well?
Yeah. Chris Hadfield, our astronaut friend.
Yes, Chris Hadfield.
Yes. So he brought one of our albums up to space. He was a big fan.
Yeah.
Apparently, he used to play our songs like when he was doing astronaut training, and he would go off to
Whoa.
to like the jam at the bar, and he would go play our tune. And sometimes he would sing the happy birthday songs for his astronaut buddies on their birthdays.
Oh, how cool!
Isn't that weird?
Wow.
That's so amazing.
Yeah.
How cool.
Yeah, so he was on that too. We just played him an event for his birthday a couple of years ago as well. So
nice.
So we got to sing with him on stage, which was nice.
Wow, that's really cool. And that wasn't the only time that you guys were played in space, because I understand that on the Space Shuttle Endeavour, one of your songs was used as the wake-up song for the astronauts on the space shuttle as well.
Yeah, because for their morning alarm, they each astronaut, I guess, gets to do a pick, and Chris Hadfield picked "Dangerous" to wake them up.
That's great.
Yeah. Yeah, so the astronauts must have been very confused. Yeah, so I've had some weird things happen in my life. Yeah.
When did you find out about the songs being used in space?
It was shortly thereafter. I can't remember. Someone sent us a link. Somebody had heard of it, and then you can check up on the official NASA like reports, like captain's log. There's a site that has all that official NASA stuff, and it's in there. It'll like in militaries, the morning song played at the hour was there. Yeah, it's like, oh, so I guess this did happen.
Wow.
Yeah. And we never get a heads up about these things. They just happen to us.
Right. Do you get royalties when astronauts listen to your song in space?
I never really checked my royalty statement carefully. So I'm not sure. I'm not sure if we do or not.
I wonder if copyright still exists off of Earth. That's something you need to look into.
Yeah, well, sometimes they say like the rights for this in the region in the forever in all eternity across the universe. Like sometimes you put stuff like that. So maybe I don't know if we have that in our contract.
Right.
Or not.
You better make sure.
Yeah. But from now on, we're putting across the universe.
Right. Okay.
In every contract.
Well, and you got to get the multiverse in there just in case.
Oh, see? Yeah, I'm not thinking big enough.
Well, I'm thinking,
right.
Tom Cavanaugh's role in The Flash, we have to
right.
consider that.
Yes, absolutely.
Well, fortunately, the Arrogant Worms can not only be heard in outer space, but they can also be heard here on Earth, so that we're very happy about that. And one of my favorite things to do when we're allowed to is to go out and see live concerts. And the Arrogant Worms, I'll tell you, I'm going to gush a little bit, but you guys put on such a fun live show that, I've dragged people along. I've said, you have to see these people, and they've always left as fans. I think I introduced Ethan to you guys not that long ago as well.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, he hasn't seen you guys live, but he's become an instant fan as well. So he tell us a little bit about just the Arrogant Worms, when you're allowed to perform, what your concerts are like.
Yeah, so like live shows are really our thing. So like that's what we like doing best. I think that's what we're best at.
Mm-hmm.
But we like a lot of it is from the kind of the very loose style we started off with back doing campus shows, and then we did several years of a lot of street performing. And if you're doing street performing, you really have to get people's attention. So kind of developed this style where we would sing a song, and then between songs we would just kind of ramble on and try to get anyone's attention that we could, and that's become the show.
Right.
We don't write any of the material for between the songs. Some of it becomes stock eventually. Like if we get a laugh, you might write it. But most of the time, I'd say 70% of our banter is just made up on the spot. And we just ramble on, and hopefully something funny happens. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't, but at least it keeps things fresh, and it helps us from going insane. I don't really understand how. There's some performers, especially in comedy, where they have an act, and it's the act, and they get it exactly how they want it, and they do the same thing every night, and I just go mad. So
Yeah.
It's just like I don't understand actors on Broadway either. Like, how do you okay, you've done the show, that's great. What are you going to do next? I'm going to do the next same show. Oh, really? Yeah, for 10 years. What? Like, really? Oh, my God. Why? Why would you do that? Yeah, so it keeps things fresh for us, and we like to involve the audience. We've got several participation songs as well. And sometimes sometimes the show is the most fun when things kind of go off the rails. So often it does. Yeah,
I definitely love the audience participation songs. I mean, some of my favorites. I loved when I first heard the song live, "Rippy the Gator," and that's just, to me, is one of the funniest audience participation songs that there could be. And then, of course, "Mounted Animal Nature Trail" as well is a great song where you do get the audience involved as well.
Yeah, we like to have fun.
So I'm curious about how the collaboration works between the three of you. Do you split up songwriting duties? Do you write together? What is that process like?
No, we usually don't write together.
Okay.
But I used to do a lot of writing with John, who was in the group before Chris came along. We used to do a fair bit of co-writing. But what we do now is we mostly write separately, but we'll send the songs to each other. And if we're doing an album or something like that, we might help edit the song. Occasionally what's happened, we'll have a song and somebody will get stuck and we'll just pass it to somebody else. That happens every now and then.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, we sometimes do stuff like that. But for the most part, I'd say like 75% of the time, it's one person writing the song and then bringing it to the group.
Okay.
And then we kind of work it up together.
And then when it comes to putting an album together, is it like let's each have 33.3% of the songs, or is it just sort of whatever is available at that time?
Yes and yes. So
okay.
Usually it depends how many songs we have. Like if we have enough songs. If we don't have enough songs, then everything goes on. And then if we have too many songs, then we just kind of divvy it up fairly evenly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but like in the early years, pretty much whatever we wrote ended up on an album.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. There's a few lost songs. I played a couple of them on my show a couple of weeks ago, and I may play a couple of others. My next Trevor Talks It Through is going to have the History of the Rooms Part 2.
Cool.
So I might be able to find a couple of other songs that never made it anywhere.
Oh, that's
as
exciting.
I go through all the crap in my basement.
Well, while we're on the subject, tell us about Trevor Talks It Through.
Oh, okay. So I just I had a podcast. Remember when people did podcasts? Oh, sorry. So I did a little podcast years ago and decided to start up something like that again. I was trying out streaming on Twitch, and so I was kind of doing different types of shows, and one of them just ended up turning into more of a show than like a Twitch thing. So I just decided to bring back Trevor Talks It Through, but more as with me doing a show, so preparing stuff. And every week, the people watching the show give topics for the next show, and then they vote on it. Whatever they vote on is the topic for the next show.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So I never have to decide, which is good.
And so you actually recently did a whole show about Weird Al.
Yeah. So one of the recent ones, they voted for Weird Al. He won in a landslide, by the way. He just destroyed the others. One of the other suggestions was carburetors, which is, a strong choice, but it was just blown out of the water. So I did a Weird Al. One, which was good because although I knew all of the songs that everyone knew, I never actually had any Weird Al albums don't know why I never got a Weird Al, but I never actually had like the album. So I only really knew the big songs. I knew all the big songs. But for this one, I asked everyone, like I asked on the internet, like, what do you guys want me to learn? And they kept on naming these songs. I was like, what? And some of them I kind of heard of. I did watch UHF like a lot of times.
Yeah.
So I started learning most of the ones I played were the originals. So that was good because I wasn't as familiar with the originals. And then one of the ones that everyone was asking me to learn was The Biggest Ball of Twine in Minnesota.
Yes.
And then
yeah.
I remembered hearing it and I went, okay, that one's amusing. It's kind of a folk song. That would be really easy for me to learn. So I told them that I would learn it. And then I listened to the song again and I was like, oh my God, this is impossible. It goes on forever. The rhythm of the rhythm is totally random. Some of the verses are like 10 lines long. Some of them are 4. It changes it was like, oh my God, that was a hard song to learn. So hard. And so long. It took so much time, but I did it. I finally did it. Man, it's like, it goes on forever, that song. Most of all though, he just randomly, because he's parodying folk songs, he's randomly shoving words in everywhere and the meter is all over the place, which he's doing on purpose because usually he lines things up purposely, but since he was making fun of folk songs, he made it really all over it's really hard to do it like he did it, right? Man, that was so much work. God. Yeah. Anyway, yeah, so I did that. So that was good. It was a good experience for me.
Well, I definitely recommend, if our listeners haven't seen it yet, to check out Trevor Talks It Through episode 105. It's on YouTube. It's all about Weird Al. And you also do covers of My Bologna, I Love Rocky Road, Another One Rides the Bus, and Melanie on the show as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Melanie was much easier to learn.
Yeah.
Much quicker. Didn't take too long.
So now, in addition to this, live show podcast, you're doing a lot of other cool things, including shows over Zoom. How does that work?
Yeah, so I just started that up a few months ago too. I thought, because I wanted to do some shows. So this one here, so I just tell people that they can hire me, and then they can have up to 20 people, them and 20 of their friends Zoom in. And so I just do it over Zoom. And so it's more like, instead of the streams, which, I can read the comments, but I can't really interact. It's more like an interactive show. So I can talk to people in between the songs, and they can request all the songs that they want, and they can bring their friends. And so it's kind of relaxed, and it is, it's not quite like being live in a venue, but it's not too far off. It's been working pretty well. I'm very happy.
Cool.
With it. Yeah.
Nice.
So that's been pretty good. I've been enjoying that.
So has The Biggest Ball of Twine in Minnesota made it into the songs that they can request yet?
No, not yet. Because I every Friday I do an R Request live stream on Twitch, and you can also do Facebook and YouTube. But and I haven't put it up there yet. I'm thinking of it, but because I haven't, because it's so hard. But at the same time, I spend so much time learning it.
Yeah,
that I really should put it back up there.
Right.
So I probably will.
Yeah.
I probably will. It's not up there at the moment. If someone hired me, I would do the song for sure.
Yeah.
Like for a Zoom show, I would definitely do it. Yeah. But yeah, we'll see.
Now, looking at the discography of the Arrogant Worms, there's mostly studio albums, but also a couple live albums. What is the reasoning behind doing a studio versus a live album?
Well, we started doing the live albums because that's what we thought people did. If you know what I mean. Like we were new, and it's like, we have to do an album. How do we do an album? Well, you go to a studio. Okay, let's go to that's kind of how we did that. But then we decided, like the second one, Russell Shirts, has a couple of live songs recorded. We started to twig in that, there's more energy in a live concert. So then we kind of did some of one and some of the other, because they're different. They give you different things you can do. The live ones get more of the feel of a concert,
right.
But the studio what give you a lot more room to play with the arrangements and the instruments.
Yeah.
And you can, and because we don't do specific parodies, but we do parody styles of music. and that's much easier to do in a studio when you can actually, doing the Celtic parody, and you can actually bring in a real fiddle player
Right.
to make it sound more
Right.
authentic. So it can be funnier that way. So they both have their pluses and minuses. So we just like to kind of shake them up. I have no idea what the next album will be, whether we'll do it live
Yeah.
or in a studio.
On your Patreon page, you're also putting out fan-funded songs. Can you tell us a little bit about the idea behind the fan-funded songs and what exactly they are?
Yeah, so I guess 3 years ago we started doing this. We wanted to try to we wanted more material to go out, but at the same time, we don't want to always be recording albums. So
Yeah.
I had done a Patreon before that, putting out songs, which were just basically Arrogant Worms songs. And then we had a talk, and we said, no, this would make more sense to just do it as an Arrogant Worms thing. And it was actually pretty hard to write one song a month that was of any quality. So now we made it an Arrogant Worms thing. And so each month we post a song, and the people who are patrons get to hear it first. But then we make it available to whoever wants to hear it. But it helps us keep writing material, and also it gets it out there without having to do all of the hassle of doing an album. And I don't even know what albums are anymore, or if they're needed, or it's very confusing. In
Right.
digital age, whether you even need them. So it's really helpful to have that way of doing it. And of course, you don't make any money selling albums anymore anyway, because people just stream them. So this is a good way to let people help us do that and get the money that we can make the time to record songs by having the people who really want to support us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you have a separate Patreon too, for the Trevor Talks It Through.
Yeah, I just launched that a couple of weeks ago, just because I want to be able to keep doing it. So it's for the Trevor Talks It Through, and also I'm trying to write more Very Grim Fairy Tales as well.
Yes.
So I don't really need a ton of people, but I just want to get enough people so that I can. Well, first of all, it makes me do something every month, and I want to be able to keep the show going and be able to justify spending the time doing it.
Mm-hmm.
So, and because on Twitch, you can ask for donations, but which is fine for doing the request show, but doing the show, it just seems weird. It was just feeling weird, like halfway through the show, hey, give me some money. It's like, it's a weird thing to do in a talk show, isn't it? It's fine. You know what I mean? The old request show is like you're in a piano bar and you got the glass,
Right,
and everyone
right.
expects that. But it just wasn't vibing with with doing a regular kind of talk show. So I decided to start up the Patreon, see if I could get some folks to support that, so I could keep the show going.
You mentioned Very Grim Fairy Tales and some of the other books you've written. I'm really interested to hear more about your writing.
Okay, well, my goal has always been to be a writer. I perform because it's the only way to get writing out usually. So whenever I can, I try to write stuff. So the first book I put out was Get Stupid with the Ignorance is Bliss program, and so that's a parody of a self-help book.
Yeah.
Although the sad thing is, it would actually work.
As opposed to an actual self-help book.
Yeah, it would actually work. So I put that out first, and then I put out the Grim Fairy Tales, which I've been working on, picking away at for years and years and years, actually since the beginning of the Worms. And those are all just really nasty fairy tales with the death and just amusing death,
Right,
and destruction.
okay.
Yeah.
They're darker than most of the Worm stuff. I mean, they're kind of like Rippy the Gator in darkness. They're all that kind of stuff. And then I wrote the novel, which is about a bass player. It's a little more involved, but it's mostly funny. And there are several bands in it. So at the end, there were lyrics to about 20 made-up songs. That one. And then I've also been I was working on a kid's book, which I have a draft ready, but I have to work on it more, called Stanley the Stinky Fairy.
That sounds amazing.
Which really has, doesn't that sound like it's great?
Yes.
So it's all about,
Yeah.
well, it's all about the faulty fairies of all the fairy, like, it was because my daughter years ago was reading all those stupid fairy books, and every, Fiona, the Flora fairy, and it was the Rainbow Fairy, and it's like, oh my God, what about all the fairies for all the yucky stuff? So then so I want to rewrite that too, and so hopefully if I get some support on the Patreon, it'll give me some more time to work on another draft of that one.
Nice.
Wow.
Yeah, I got lots of ideas. I just gotta, always time. Yeah.
Right.
Well, Trevor, I do have an ulterior motive for getting you on the podcast. Back in 1999, I drove up to Toronto to catch the album release party for the Dirt album.
Oh, okay.
While I was up there, a great show, but I had gotten a parking ticket in the city of Hamilton earlier that day or maybe the day before. And I figured that, since I was up to see the Arrogant Worms, I was hoping that maybe you guys could help me pay off my parking ticket.
Okay.
So I presented the parking ticket to you after the concert, and you guys were very nice about it, and you signed it for me, and I still have it with me, but I'm hoping that maybe, after all these years, you wouldn't mind sending me the $55 Canadian so I can finally pay off this parking ticket. And,
you know what? I'm pretty sure we sent that to you. Yeah, I think you need to go through your files. Yeah, no, I'm pretty sure. I'm certain, actually. Yeah, no, we had our people look after that immediately after the show. I know I'm certain now. It sounds like there's been some sort of clerical error on your side. So you might want to fire your assistant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's probably intern Frank.
Right.
Our intern Frank is gonna get quite a scolding for this one for not telling me that this has been taken care of already.
Yeah, we took care of that. I'm sure we did.
Now, on the Arrogant Worms website, you guys have, some of the typical merchandise, like T-shirts and hats and that kind of stuff, CDs.
Yeah.
But I think maybe the greatest bit of band merch I've ever seen is the Vegetable Scream Machine, the official Arrogant Worms salad spinner.
Yes.
When did you guys come out with that?
We have a guy in town in Kingston who helps us out. Name's Chris Moores. He helps us out with stuff, and he was over at my place, and we were trying to figure out some new merch because CDs aren't selling much anymore, so we need to expand our line. And he said something. I don't even know what he was trying to say, but I thought he said salad spinner. I guess he didn't say salad spinner, but he said this, and I turned to him and I went, "Salad spinner, that's brilliant." And he went, "I didn't say salad spinner." I said, "Oh." Well, it's still a great idea. And he said, "Yeah, that is a great idea. Let's order some salad spinners." Yep. So it's another one of those examples of us just not knowing what the hell we're doing. But yeah, so once it was actually no one's actual idea. So now we have salad spinners.
And it was a great idea because they're currently sold out on the website, so they're obviously very popular.
Yeah, they're pretty awesome, the salad spinners. Yeah, I think we've decided only to sell them on live shows to make them more special now, because I still have some in my attic somewhere.
Yeah.
But waiting for the next tour.
That's so great. Have you guys had other unique merchandise like that over the years?
I rediscovered when I was preparing for one of the History of the Worm shows that one of our initial, I don't think we didn't use it as merch. It was more of promotion. I think that's what we thought we were going to get from it. We had these cardboard printouts that you'd fold, and they would form a box of dirt. Yeah, the Arrogant Worms box of dirt, and we had the list of ingredients on it and our phone number. I'm surprised we got any gigs at all. So this was one of our early promotional items.
That's incredible.
Yeah, really clever bunch. Yeah, besides that, nothing. I can't think of any other exciting ones. I think that's the only other one that was really out there.
You probably really could sell boxes of dirt, though. I feel like I would have to buy one if I saw that at a merch booth.
You know what? Yeah, we should go do it again. Like, the markup on that would be great.
Yeah, you just fold.
We don't even
boxes.
have to bring the dirt with us. Just bring the boxes. Find dirt wherever we're going.
Put that in your rider. I just need a bag of dirt.
A bag of dirt. What's wrong with these guys? Yeah, maybe we should revive that. Yeah, so many great ideas. Yeah.
Well, so, in the Weird Al community, Dave and I are obviously known as these super fans, and we both have these, insane collections of everything from, Weird Al's albums to merchandise to really anything he's ever been on. And I'm wondering, are there Dave and Ethans of the Arrogant Worms community? Are there fans who just have absolutely everything and go to every show?
Well, I see a lot of the same people. I don't know if they have everything or not. I mean, a lot of them, there are people who definitely have every album.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm not sure. I don't know if we have. There must be a couple of super collectors, but I'm not really sure. I know that when we did a crowdfunding thing for one of our albums, and I had one of the when the numbers were slowing down, I figured out I could just say basement surprise, and so at a certain funding level, they just got a random bit of worm passed from my basement, and that actually it sold out surprisingly quickly, which I was shocked by. Yeah, and everyone got a basement surprise. So like I had old passes in there and stuff like that, or like, but yeah, so somebody must like it.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I do have a small collection of Arrogant Worm stuff that I collected over the year. Concert booklets, flyers, and a few pieces of merchandise. But I'm nowhere near the raiding through your basement type of collector on that quite yet.
Right. Okay. Well, if you're ever in town, let me know. You can get some.
All right. Great. You did mention that crowdfunding thing that you did, and I don't think I went for something out of your basement, but I do remember I did support that, and you guys did write me a song, and I don't remember what the song is at the moment, but in the song you had asked us to please provide some information about yourself, so I sent a few tidbits, and you guys put it to music for me. But one thing that I had said is I had said that I'm the proud parent of 3 cats, and in the song you actually said 4 cats.
Oh.
So now I had the internal struggle of, should I let you guys know that, it's 3 cats, it's really 3 cats instead of 4 cats, or should I just go out and adopt a 4th cat? So I'm wondering if you could help me out here. What is easier, for you guys to rewrite that song for me, or for me just to go to the local pet adoption agency and pick up another cat?
Well, you can't have enough cats, so
Right.
It's pretty obvious what the solution is there. So I guess a no-brainer. And no one can call you. No one can say that. Why did you get another cat? Why they say I have another cat, so I just gotta make right by them, right? These guys paid my ticket. They paid my parking ticket, and I've accused them of not doing that. So I'm at least I could do is get another cat, right?
I think you've convinced me. I will soon be adding a 4th cat to my household. If you have any suggestions for names, I'm open to them as well.
Oh, I don't know. Maybe parking violation would be a good one. Although violation, actually, now I'm thinking of violation is a good cat name.
That is a cool cat name.
That's what they do all the time.
Well, Trevor, you just adopted a couple new cats.
Yeah. So I had a cat who made it to about 20 years old, and he died a little while ago.
Oh,
so
no.
about 2. Yeah. No, yeah. It was pretty. And we couldn't get another cat because he was a crazy alpha cat, and even though he had no claws or teeth, he would have tried to kill any other cat we brought within a mile of our house. So we couldn't. So as long as he was going, it was like, we can't have more than him, because he refused. He loved being loved by people, but he hated other cats. Hated them. Mm-hmm. So then just before Christmas, we got 2 cats. We got 1 cat first and the other one, and they're both apparently feral when they're feral kittens, but man, they don't have a lot of that left in them.
Yeah.
They're pretty. They learn to live the house life pretty quickly. Although the one cat likes to drink like water that isn't clean, or like out of like, if you have like a bowl that you put some water in to let it sit, he'll drink that water and stuff like that. Or out of the tub. I think it's because that's how he drank water when he was a kitten.
Oh yeah, okay.
The ditch kitten.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the one habit he has. He prefers to drink like filthy water in random It's like, what are you doing? You can drink real water
Right.
now. It's like, no, man, no. No, man, I got to stay real. I got to keep it real. I'm from the streets. Yeah, that's the one. That's the one thing he does.
Yeah.
Oh, he also eats endlessly, and if there's any food out, it's like he's never going to see food again.
Aw.
Yeah, yeah. Besides that, though, the other guy is totally not like he's ever lived in the streets. So, yeah.
Now you're also teaching some comedy courses?
Yeah, I'm teaching. I've been teaching. I do a lot of teaching, and I just started teaching comedy courses online. I've taught them in person before, but now that
Cool.
you can't do that, so I started doing them online last May. And at the moment, I'm teaching two. So I'm teaching an introduction to comedy writing, and then a comedy writing the sequel for the people who've taken the introduction one. Yeah, it's lots of fun, and I keep it to 12 people on Zoom so that it's interactive. It's not like a talk and listen one. It's doing lots of exercises and writing stuff and presenting stuff. Yeah. So I really like doing that. Super fun.
Is it like stand-up comedy? Is it, humorous stories, or is it music?
It's all of that. It's introduction to coming up with comedy ideas. That's kind of all the same.
Yeah.
So I touch on stand-up and music and sketch in the introduction course, but it mainly, and then we watch comedy clips, especially ones that people in the class pick, and we analyze how and why they're funny and how they work, and all the technical elements behind taking an idea and making it funny and maximizing the funniness. So
Nice.
I warned them ahead of time that after they take the course, they won't be able to view comedy the same way.
Right.
Instead of seeing something funny and laughing, they'll see something funny and they'll go, "That's funny."
Now, aside from the stuff with Arrogant Worms and comedy music, have you done any traditional stand-up?
No. Stand-up, I've done lots of, not traditional stand-up. I've done lots of me as a guy performing solo, singing songs, or I've done lots of hosting.
Yeah.
But I've never done what would be considered stand-up, like nowadays stand-up, of getting up there and talking about stuff. It's never been my thing. I like writing. I like hiding behind characters and stories. I think is what it is. I'm not the guy I guess some stand-ups don't really talk about themselves, but most of them, their images, their act. So it's never been my deal. So I haven't done that, but I do a lot of solo performing, but I wouldn't call it and I talk and I do all that kind of stuff, but I wouldn't call it like what you would think of as a stand-up show. No.
I did want to mention, for any Arrogant Worms collectors who may also be Weird Al collectors, there are some 2-for-1s that you can pick up. There is a Dr. Demento compilation album that both the Arrogant Worms and Weird Al is on, including a couple Dr. Demento basement tapes. And Trevor, I was wondering, what is the process of when you guys were on the Dr. Demento basement tapes? Would he just contact you and be like, "Can I put a song on my basement tape?" Or how does that work?
Yeah, I'm trying to recall. I think it was the record company. I think it was Oleo Records.
Oh,
No,
okay.
he was in Rhino too, wasn't he?
Yeah.
But whatever the record company, no, Rhino. I think it was on Rhino.
Rhino.
And they just send us a little letter and saying, "We'd like to put you on the album. Can you sign this and this and this?" And we would sign this and this and this for the universe and beyond, and the multiverse. And then we'd start receiving these small little checks about every 4 months for a
Nice.
little while, and then they stopped coming. Eventually, they stopped coming, but we got paid. We actually got money.
Oh, that's
so that was
great.
good.
That's awesome.
Nice.
Yeah. We did not a lot, but what did I have to do? I just had to sign a piece of paper.
Right.
You didn't have to read it. Didn't bother. Yes. Were we on more than one, or were we just on the? I think
You're on the one, but
definitely
then
on one.
there was like fan club exclusive CDs that Dr. Demento would send out. You're on a couple of those.
Yeah,
as well.
I seem to recall there was some other one that was also involved. But I know there was the one that we got checks for sure.
Right.
Yeah, Dr. Demento's 30th anniversary collection, Dementia 2000. You're on there. The same exact disc 2, with Another One Rides the Bus and also Caratuse's Murder.
Oh, there you go. Rats about. Oh, sorry, don't want to get into copyright trouble. Sorry, I shouldn't sing anything on the air. Oh, okay. You can delete that later.
I think we'll be fine. I don't think Al's
Okay,
going to sue us.
I'm not worried about that.
Okay, phew, okay.
feel free to break out in song anytime.
Okay.
Well, Trevor, this has been really awesome getting to hear about your career, both your solo career and your Arrogant Worms career. People who are looking to hire you for a concert, to get more information about Trevor Talks It Through, your comedy classes, your books, can head over to trevorstrong.org. And of course, once the salad spinners potentially get back in stock, and for other Arrogant Worms information, they can head over to arrogantworms.com.
That's right.
Trevor, this has really been awesome getting to chat with you.
Well, thanks. Thanks for giving me a call. It's good to be talked to.
Thank you, Trevor. I'm so happy we finally got Trevor Strong to join us on the podcast.
Yes, that was awesome, Trevor. Thank you so much. Well, Dave, we've been teasing it. There is a special big news announcement. Are you ready to share it?
I sure am, Cooney. I'm excited to share with all of you that I have finally tracked down a copy of We Married Margot on DVD. I am just so excited to watch it.
Dave, the other big news?
Oh, yeah. As faithful followers of our podcast will know, we are approaching the 2-year anniversary of the podcast on May 8th. To celebrate, we will be hosting a free virtual Zoom concert for Patreon supporters, starring none other than Trevor Strong.
This amazing concert will be held on Saturday, May 8th. That's our actual 2-year anniversary, starting at 8 p.m. Burrito time and 5 p.m. Hollywood Star Time.
All Patreon supporters and their families at the Internet Leaks level, which is the $5 tier or above, are invited to join us for no extra cost.
Not a Patreon supporter yet, or not at the $5 level or above? It's not too late. Join now or upgrade now for an invite to this exclusive concert event. Plus, you get to support the podcast and get all of the other perks of being a member of our Patreon family.
Now, Patreon family, RSVPs are required as slots are limited. So make sure you let Frank know at frank@2000inch.com as soon as possible if you plan to attend.
And if you're not a Patreon supporter yet and you want to attend, those slots are going to go fast. So be sure to sign up now and reserve your spot at patreon.com/2000inch.
Trevor will be performing some pretty amazing songs. You do not want to miss it. I've seen my fair share of Arrogant Worms concerts, and we are all in for a real treat.
It's so exciting. I can't believe we're coming up on 2 whole years.
I know, that is so exciting.
This week's episode is brought to you in part by Discover Darwin, promoting tourism in Darwin, Minnesota. Not only is historic Darwin, Minnesota beautiful, it's also broasted.
Darwin, Minnesota is home to V's Grill and Pub, the best chicken joint in all of Darwin.
Ashley M. gave V's 5 stars and said it was the best effing chicken I've ever had.
As it should be, the specialty at V's Grill and Pub is broasted chicken. Broasted chicken.
Dave, I've been a vegetarian for like 27 years. What is broasted chicken?
I have no idea.
Jay also gave it 5 stars and said, great place to eat friendly service.
Eat friendly service? I thought they served chicken.
I'm pretty sure Jay meant to include a comma.
Oh yeah. Lonnie Stromum gave it 4 stars and said, my mom and dad ate there and loved it.
Well, as long as Lonnie's mom and dad gave it their thumbs up, that's good enough for me.
So visit Darwin, Minnesota on your next expedition. Discover Darwin, more than just a twine ball. And after you visit Darwin, Minnesota, be sure to visit discoverdarwin.biz.
Each week, we're able to bring you this podcast absolutely free thanks to sponsors like Burrito, Angel Valenzuela and his son David Cash, Discover Darwin, Jackson Scoggins, and our amazing close personal friend Patreon supporters Jeff, Javier, Kenneth, Jared, Zeb, Mark, Blair, and Allison. We also give thanks to our newest supporter Jake and everyone else in our Patreon family.
Revenue from our incredible supporters on patreon.com/2000inch allows us to continue doing what we love, which is making fantastically fun, funny, and family-friendly Weird Al podcasts for you each and every week. We'd absolutely appreciate your consideration in joining our pretty stinking majestic Patreon family for as little as $1 per month.
And remember, all of our Patreon supporters at the $5 and above tier get to join us at our 2-year anniversary concert starring Trevor Strong of the Arrogant Worms on Saturday, May 8th. If you're not a Patreon supporter yet and you want to attend, be sure to sign up now and reserve your spot.
Looking for another way to support the podcast? Head over to shop.2000inch.com for official Dave and Ethan's 2000-inch Weird Al podcast merchandise, including t-shirts, tote bags, mugs, tank tops, face coverings, pillows, and so much more.
Find us online at WeirdAlPodcast.com or 2000inch.com, where you can find information about our guests and listen to past episodes like episode 57-inch, where we interviewed Mike Furman about his comedy music and recording songs with Weird Al. Please join our Facebook group by heading to group.2000inch.com for episode discussions and other exclusive content. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at 2000inch and at youtube.2000inch.com. Be sure to share our posts and tell your friends to gill and chill.
We sure love it when you leave us voicemail on our 27-hour-a-day podcast hotline, 347-SPATULA. Give it a call. You might even hear your message on the air. The 347-SPATULA hotline, the official hotline of Dave and Ethan's 2000-inch Weird Al podcast, is sponsored by Angel Valenzuela and David Cash, two amazing Weird Al fans and podcast supporters.
You can catch our show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, or the podcast app of your choice. Whichever you choose, be sure to hit the subscribe button so you do not miss a single episode when they drop every Wednesday.
Soon we will begin airing our series of bonus episodes where we sit down with John Bermuda Schwartz and go page by page, picture by picture, inch by inch, MC by MC through his book, Black and White and Weird All Over. Time is running out for you to grab that book if you want to be able to follow along with those episodes. Plus, it's legitimately a great gift to give someone to celebrate Jim Kimo West winning his first ever Grammy Award.
Thank you once again to our guest Trevor Strong and to Mike Furman, as well as Jeff Morris, Eddie Schmidt, all the Daves we know, the Grammy Award-winning Jim Kimo West for our incredible theme song, and thanks to all of our listeners, subscribers, Patreon supporters, and sponsors, and everyone else who made this episode and podcast possible.
Next week, we interview Joel Miller on the podcast.
Is what we will say next week on episode 99-inch, because he's on episode 100-inch.
That was Dave and Ethan's 2000-inch Weird Al podcast, episode 98-inch.
The podcast with a theme song by a Grammy Award winner.
How many episodes do you guys do a month?
Every week we put out a brand new episode.
Wow. So eventually you're going to have to go into the Weird Al multiverse to find more stories.
Oh, absolutely.
Like other dimensions. Dimensions where he became a blue singer and like singing, swearing, cussing. Yeah.